Shelly Finkel is surprised that Tyson Fury's team didn't try to negotiate a step-aside deal with Deontay Wilder for Fury to fight Anthony Joshua. And I, just read this article about this issue online, and I find it fascinating, right? I find it fascinating how people kind of, take their biases and they run with them. And perhaps I have my own, but I just try to be objective in what I see, right? I'm going to take you guys back to the beginning to sort of lay a foundation for my thoughts, right? So I thought, and this is my opinion, that Deontay Wilder's side picked Tyson Fury in the first fight because he was coming off, a 3-year, 2.5-year bender, losing 100 pounds. They thought it was going to be easy money. It backfired. They got a gift decision in a fight that I think anybody who's ever scored a fight in their life or knows anything about scoring a fight could never find in favor of Deontay Wilder. Fine, so they rematch, and he obliterates Deontay Wilder in 7 rounds. I mean, just easy work. Easy work. And I'm an American saying this, I'm not partial to Fury. I'm not partial to Wilder. I know Fury's had his issues in the past with, being accused of cheating or whatever with regards to, PEDs or boar meat, whatever excuse he gave or whatever it was. But, the evidence for me, I'm in the same camp as Andre Ward. The evidence for me of, goofy pixelated gloves bending slightly backwards, it's not enough. It's not enough for me as a kickboxing promoter who has to work with the commissions and purchase gloves and see what they do with the gloves that are identical to boxing gloves, by the way. It wasn't anywhere near enough evidence for me to even question that the guy cheated, because I understand the process. I'm not going to sit here and talk about it, but it's just crazy to me, right? It's just crazy to me that, if you look at this entire situation objectively, where this guy comes off a coke binge for 3 years, coke and beer, beats the hometown guy soundly, gets robbed and given a draw, and then smashes him in the rematch. It's amazing to me that people think that he's trying to avoid Deontay Wilder. And how do you reconcile that with him, as Shelly Finkel is saying here, not being willing to engage in any sort of step-inside deal with Wilder? And even, and adding more to the, ridiculousness and stupidity of the Wilder side, which for me has just become just the stupidest thing that I've ever seen. And this guy, shouldn't be allowed to make any decisions for himself at this point. I think he's mentally gone. But, hearing it from his manager, Finkel, right? This article, it's crazy what the media does. This article says that basically Fury's side didn't even attempt to make a step-aside deal. But then in the article, and I'm going to read it to you exactly as it's written. Finkel says, and Finkel's being quoted in this article, he says, but there was nothing from their side, which I thought was short-sighted. But that's their choice. There was never a discussion. Frank, and then they have in parentheses Warren, they're referring to Fury's, promoter. Frank Warren at one point said to me, would you guys take a 7-figure walkaway? And I said no. And that was it. That was the only discussion and effort. So, what does Shelly Finkel want, right, besides Tyson Fury's promoter walking up to him and saying, would you guys take a 7-figure step-aside deal, and hearing the response no? What more does he want? Does he want, maybe it's the difference between, Finkel's business practices and Warren's business practice. Does he want Warren to, hold his balls for him and tell him, oh, sweetie, maybe you didn't hear me the first time. Would you like, He offered you a 7-figure step-aside deal, right? Which would be up to almost $10 million. When you said no, then that automatically means you want more than $10 million. And how are you not understanding that they're not interested in paying Deontay Wilder over $10 million step-aside money when Tyson Fury beat the shit out of him 2 times? I mean, guys, he beat the dog shit out of this guy. I mean, I don't even know, if I'm Wilder's team, right, or anyone that cares about Deontay Wilder, one of 2 things happens. I either don't let him fight until he gets examined, gets his brain examined, and if he's okay, I let him take the fight, as his last payday. And maybe it's, I mean, unless he wins, and beats Fury, which I highly doubt at this point, but it's possible. If he beats Fury, then continue from there. I mean, for me, he's got to cash out here. So maybe that's the only reason he's taking this fight. But if he plans to prolong his career, this is not the fight. This is not the fight. Step aside would have been great, but of course Fury's not going to offer it because he doesn't see you as a threat. So now you have 2 camps, right? And they're going to have to reconcile with each other, and they're going to have to reconcile with the truth. The first camp is Tyson Fury faked COVID because he's trying to avoid Deontay Wilder. See, but that doesn't work because he's going to have to fight him on October 9th. And the other one is Tyson Fury didn't offer Wilder step aside because he's afraid of Anthony Joshua. And you see, that one's not really working because it sounds like they're going to be fighting in 2022. So I think what we're left with, at least in my opinion, is the reality that Fury isn't scared of either one of these guys. Look, if you understand like me, these fighters aren't scared of anyone. But sometimes you have to stop them from hurting themselves because they're too tough for their own good. Deontay Wilder's one of those guys. He would have sat there and allowed himself to be beaten to death by Tyson Fury. And I praise him for the bravery and for the warrior spirit. But I don't know about his team. I don't know about his team, and listen, I'm not saying I know something, somebody else doesn't know, but the people that he surrounds himself with, Deontay Wilder, in my opinion, and from what I've heard and from what I've seen in my experience, may not be the best people for him. I actually believe that the people surrounding Deontay Wilder and encouraging him to take this fight probably don't have his best interests at heart. They probably have their own pockets at heart. And I think he made a huge mistake getting rid of Mark Breland. So, at the end of the day, you can't have it both ways. It's like the claim that he loaded his gloves with egg weights, right? And how that flies in the face of the claim that he hollowed out his gloves. You can't have both. A hollowed out glove or it's got an egg weight in it. You got to pick one conspiracy theory here, ladies and gentlemen. And that's all I've got to say. In the link below, or rather in the comment section below, let me know what you think about Shelly Finkel, being offered 7 figures, saying no, and then saying that they didn't offer him anything. Just weird. Okay, just tell me what you think about that. I don't know, maybe I'm the weird one. Hit the like button below after you do that. Subscribe to the channel and join the channel. FightersRep 10 is coming August 13th. Listen, I could be totally wrong. My opinion could be totally wrong to you. But this is what I believe. I'm trying to be objective here. Get your FightersRep gear in the link below as well. FightersRep 10. Again, it's going to be incredible. August 13th. The only way you could watch is to join the channel below, or get your tickets if you're anywhere near California at the time. Get your tickets. I'd love to see you there. I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say about this.